Hey guys, welcome to our channel, Living in Sioux Falls. This is where we talk everything Sioux Falls, and we really try to dive deep into what it's like living here, what the community is like overall. So those of you that are looking into Sioux Falls as a place to move or a place to live, this is the channel for you. So make sure you subscribe to our channel and send any comments our way. Let us know how we're doing. But today specifically, I want to focus on the suburb of Tea, South Dakota. So Tea is a thriving, up-and-coming city, suburb of Sioux Falls. So I really want to dive deep. So if you've been researching the different areas near and around Sioux Falls, Tea has probably come up on your search. And so we're going to dive deep into Tea, South Dakota today, answer all your questions, and get you the information that you're looking for. All right, so we're going to focus specifically on the pros and cons of Tea, South Dakota. So what are the good things? What are the bad things? What are the things you need to know before you move yourself, move your family here, and start over fresh? You want to know some of these things ahead of time. So that's what we're going to try to do today, is just educate you on that. But one of the first pros, let's start with the pros. One of the first pros we're going to start with is just the overall growing community and just the benefits that you get from living in a growing community. So when I say Tea is growing, I mean as a population, so its size is growing. With that, economic growth is happening, more amenities are being available to the residents of Tea. There's just a lot of good things happening. So the population at the end of 2023 in Tea was 7,657. So that's up over 36% since the last census, which was in 2020. So we're seeing a huge growth of over 10% per year in a place like Tea. So a size of suburb this size, that's growing really, really fast. And you can see it when you just drive around Tea, South Dakota. Just see all the development that's happening from a residential standpoint, from a commercial standpoint, from healthcare to clinics to restaurants to retail stores. All those things are happening, and there's just a lot of good stuff happening with this growth, and you can see it, you can feel it just by driving through the streets of Tea. One of the first things when you come into Tea, South Dakota that you feel is the commercial growth. So they have a really great, almost industrial commercial park that kind of is off the interstate that comes into Tea, South Dakota. There's a lot of offices here. There's landscaping companies. There's multiple different range of companies that have their offices here that kind of welcome you into Tea, South Dakota. But it doesn't have a real heavy industrial feel or anything like that. It just has a good business feel, and like there's a lot going on. So you get that sense right off the bat. The other side of it too is the residential neighborhoods that have been coming up lately. There's a 9 Mile Lake. That's a new residential development that we'll take a look at as well. But there's a lot of good development happening there. There's a lot of good other options, multiple different price ranges that you can get into. But there is growth happening, and it's hard to hide that. So every street you turn down, you're seeing a new business coming in, you're seeing a new housing development happening, and stuff is popping up all over Tea. With that growth, something that's been here a long time is the Lincoln County Airport. So it's a private little airport. There's no commercial flights that go out. It's a small little airport, but kind of a neat perk that is here in Tea, South Dakota as well. But what we're going to cover is when you see this growth, it impacts the schools, the businesses, and just the quality of life overall for the residents of that community. So we're going to continue to highlight that. So pro number 2 is one of the main reasons why Tea has grown so rapidly these last few years, and that is the proximity to Sioux Falls. So Tea is about 20 minutes from downtown Sioux Falls, but really it's about 5 minutes to different parts of Sioux Falls. It has really easy access to Interstate 29 that goes right into Sioux Falls, as well as just some other county highways that go directly into Sioux Falls. So driving into Sioux Falls is really easy. There's multiple different routes, so it makes that commute even easier, and being that close to Sioux Falls is really why we're seeing tea kind of explode and grow. So tea really appeals to that person that wants all the amenities of Sioux Falls, but they want their home and their family to be raised in a small town, small community feel, and that's what tea has to offer. So it still has that feel even though it's growing. And the nice part is, as it grows, you don't have to go to Sioux Falls for absolutely everything. Like I mentioned, there's some healthcare facilities now, the retail and restaurants as well continues to grow. So although you'll be going to Sioux Falls quite a bit if you live into tea, there's more and more that's happening here, which means you just have to leave less often. So pro number 3 for tea is their school district is really geared towards providing an education that is very hands-on and lower ratio of students to teachers. So you get that more hands-on education feel as well, along with the facilities and everything that comes along with that growing community as you get newer schools, newer facilities, and tea is quickly becoming a great school district where you want your kids to be educated there, but also part of their sports and other extracurricular activities as well. So with a student enrollment of just over 2,300 students, you still have that very small feel. Like I said, there's 1 high school, 1 middle school, and 3 elementary schools in T. And really the whole idea is geared around the middle school being around that 600 to 800 students to, again, kind of give you that more of that hands-on education, keeping it small and keeping it where the teachers are able to engage with their students. So with any good school system, communication is huge with the general public, and T really does a good job of sharing information on what's happening with future expansion to the facilities or expectations for what enrollment will be. This is just a huge benefit for not only the community of T, but the parents as well that have students or future students to understand what's happening, what they can expect, and so they're just in the loop on everything education in T, South Dakota. All right, so now let's get into some of the cons of T, South Dakota, and so we kind of hit on all the pros. So what are some of the things that maybe there's a little bit of lacking here in T? And one of them is just the local amenities and the things that are here in T. And I said that that's growing, and it has. And this is one example of how it has grown. We're in Zook's Coffee Shop, which is a really cool local coffee shop here. Great place to hang out in the morning to get a coffee or on the weekends. But there is still not a ton of options, from healthcare facilities to shopping to restaurants. It's getting better and it's growing, but for most of your options you still are going to have to drive into Sioux Falls, and luckily that's not too far from T, so the proximity again plays into that, but you will have to go into town for a lot of the jobs that are available, and then any entertainment options outside of the local amenities that they have here, you will need to go into Sioux Falls. But they're continuing to add more and more each and every day, and as it continues to grow, so the future is very bright. Con number 2, and something you just need to be aware of, especially if you're looking at purchasing a home here in T, and that's the high water table. So years where we don't see a ton of rain during the summers, this really doesn't factor in at all. But when we've seen those years where we've had a lot of rain and even some flooding, T has a very high water table and just sits very low, it's flat. And so whenever you're looking at a home or looking for a place to live, you really do want to do your research and look at what the history of any water issues have been on that home, because some areas of town are worse than others, and some homes themselves are worse than others on how low they sit and if they have issues with water getting into the house. I know for me, that's one of the biggest fears when I'm buying a home is it gonna have water issues? I don't want to have that worry. So T is one of those. You just want to do a little bit extra research. You really want to check the drainage of the neighborhood and of the lot the home sits on itself. But just something to be aware of. Like I said, most summers it might not even be an issue, but when it does become an issue, T can tend to have more water issues than Sioux Falls and some of the other surrounding cities do. And con number 3 is the weather, and I mention this often in my videos when I'm talking about cons of cities in South Dakota, because weather is just a factor, especially if you're moving from a city that's a little bit warmer. Winters can be a little bit of a adjustment for those that are relocating here. And when you're talking about living in a surrounding suburb like T and doing a lot of traveling into Sioux Falls, that weather can be a little bit more of a factor for you as well. But it does get cold, it does get windy, we do get some snow, but if you can make it through the winter, you're gonna love Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and T, South Dakota as well, just because you get this great city with great people, but you do have to weather those storms, which can be brutal on days, but they don't last as long as you would think. Thank you guys for watching our video today, pros and cons of T. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this gave you some information and maybe even just got the ball rolling to start looking into T, South Dakota as a place for you to live. Make sure you ask any questions below or DM us directly, and we can get you any information that you're looking for on T, South Dakota. As well. So like I said, this channel is geared all things Sioux Falls and the surrounding areas. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe to our page and check it out, and stay tuned for more future videos that will be coming out. We'll see you then.